We continue now at the top of Daf Ayin Vav Amid Aleph in Mesechet Sanhedrin. This is Sanhedrin Daf 76a. On the previous Amid, the Gemara had asked, why don't we learn out his side of the family from her side of the family in terms of the prohibition of Aim Imo. Aim Imo is not a prohibition on a Doraisa level, but the Gemara asked it should be a prohibition on a Doraisa level, because just like the mother of his mother-in-law is prohibited on a Doraisa level, that's her side of the family, so too the mother of his mother, his grandmother, maternal grandmother, should be usher on a Doraisa level. And Rava said, we don't make that limud, we don't learn out from her side of the family to his side of the family. And the Gemara is in the middle of bringing Rava's arguments. Rava says, if you are going to say don mina v'uki bi'asra, which means that we should learn out from the mother of his mother-in-law to the mother of his mother, but we should say that the actual details go by his side of the family, meaning the punishment is skila. But if you're going to say that sreifa is stricter than skila, so then we can refute as follows. Ma'lehi shekain ima b'sreifa, when it comes to her side of the family, her mother, the punishment is sreifa, which under this assumption is stricter than skila. Tomar b'hu, whereas by his side of the family, she'imo b'skila, we say that his mother is skila, and so therefore you can't learn out one from the other. V'yod, and further, hu kihi, his side of the family should be like her side of the family. Mahi lo chilakta ba bein bita le'im ima, just like by her, we don't make a distinction in terms of the punishment, but the punishment between being with her daughter or the mother of her mother, in which both cases, again, it's sreifa. So afu, so too when it comes to him, lo tachlok bo bein bito le'im ima, we should not make a distinction between his daughter and the mother of his mother, which according to this assumption we are making a distinction, because again, one is going to be sreifa and one is going to be skila. Ulamanda amar skila chamura, and even according to the one who says that skila is stricter than sreifa, but my high kushi lo nidona, but from this last question that we just asked, that again aim imo should be the same as bito, you're not going to escape that question. You won't be able to learn, you're not going to be able to learn one from the other based on that question. And the Gemara continues along the same lines. Let's make the following limud. Imahu kaloso asura, when it comes to him, so his daughter-in-law is prohibited, meaning a person is not allowed to be with his daughter-in-law. So afi, so too when it comes to her side of the family, let's say she has a daughter-in-law, kalosa asura, we should say that her daughter-in-law is usher to him as well. Why don't we make that limud, again, from one side of the family to the other? And the Gemara says, Amar Abaye, Abaye says Amar Krutz, because the pasuk says, Eishes bin Chahi, it says, she is the wife of your son, and that's an exclusion. Misham Eishes bincha atamechayvo, if it's the wife of your son, so then we say there's a liability. Via tamechayvo misham Eishes binah, but there is no liability by the wife of her son, and therefore, based on that exclusion, there is no din of kalosa on a doraisa level. Rava Amar Rava says, Bein laman damar don mino mina, Bein laman damar don mino v'yukid bi'asra, whether we follow the one who says that you learn from the source and also all the details from the source, whether according to the one who says you learn from the source but the details are based on what you're learning too, this is very similar again to what Rava was arguing before. Lo asa, you're not going to be able to learn out her daughter-in-law no matter which way you do it. Lamandam ardon mina umina, according to the one who says that you learn out everything from the source. So mahu kaloso asura, just like by his side of the family, we say that his daughter-in-law is prohibited. Afinami kalosa asura, so to her daughter-in-law is also prohibited to him. Umino, and from there we're going to say mahu beskila afhinami beskila. Just like on his side of the family the punishment is skila, so too on her side of the family the punishment will be skila. But the Gemara says that's going to be refuted, because Lamando Amar Skila Chamura, according to the one who says that stoning Skila is stricter than Sreifa, Ikol Mifrach, we can refute this limud. We won't be able to learn it out, because we will say, Malahu Shekain Imo Beskila, on his side of the family, his mother, the punishment is Skila. Tomar Behisha Ima B'Sreifa, where it comes on her side of the family, so her mother is Sreifa, which is more lenient, so you can't learn out to her side of the family. Viod, and further, Bita B'Sreifa V'Kalasa B'Skila. Also, you're going to say that her daughter is Sreifa and her daughter-in-law is Skila, which is stricter. That doesn't make any sense. But the Gemara says to that, Hu be'atzmo yochiach. The Gemara says, well, that's not such a question, because on his side of the family we can prove the other way, because it happens to be debito b'sreifa. It happens to be true there also. His daughter is b'sreifa. His daughter, the punishment is by burning. V'kaloso b'skila, by his daughter-in-law, it happens to be stricter. It's going to be skila. So that's not really a question. But still, the Gemara continues with other refutations. Ela mahu, when it comes to his side of the family, lo chilakta bo bo bein imo lekalaso. There is no distinction in terms of what the punishment is in terms of his mother and his daughter-in-law. It's the same punishment. Afi, so too when it comes to her. Lo tachluk ba ben imo lekalaso. We should not be making a distinction between her mother and between her daughter-in-law, which we are making a distinction over here. If we're saying that the daughter-in-law is beskila and her mother would then be besreifa, that would be a distinction. Ulamand amar sreifa chamur, and even according to the one who says that sreifa is stricter, my high kushya lo nidon. And again, from this last question that we just asked, not to make distinctions, you're not going to be able to learn it out. And Rava continues, Ulamand amar don minov ukibi asr, and also according to the one who says that you learn out from the source, but the details are based on where you're learning to. But still, we would have a refutation, because mahu kaloso asura afi kaloso asura. You would say again, just like by his side of the family, his daughter-in-law is prohibited, so to her side of the family, her daughter-in-law is prohibited. And you would suggest v'uki bi'asra, again, you would keep it in its place, meaning the details would be by her side of the family. Hasam hu de v'skila, over there by his side of the family, we say that it's skila, stoning. Aval hacha b'sreifa k'de'eshkechan be'ima, but here you're going to say that the punishment is sreifa, just like we find by her mother. But again, we're going to have refutations. Laman damar skila chamura, according to the one who says that stoning is stricter than burning. So ikal mifrach, you can refute as follows. Malahu, when it comes to his side of the family, shekain imo beskila, so his mother is beskila, so you can't learn out to her side of the family, which is more lenient. Tomar behisha ima besreifa, whereas it's on her side of the family, her mother is only besreifa. V'yoden further, mahu chilakta bo ben bito lekaloso, when it comes to his side of the family, we make a distinction between his daughter and his daughter-in-law. Afi tachluk bo ben bito lekalosa, we should make a distinction between her daughter and her daughter-in-law, which we're not saying over here. Ulaman damar nami sreifa chamura, and according to the one who says that sreifa is stricter, again, mehai kushya lo nidon, we still can't learn it out from this last question. Again, if you make a distinction here, you should make a distinction over there. And the Gemara continues, Bito me'anusaso minayin. The Gemara says, when it comes to his daughter, let's say it's his daughter not through marriage, but let's say he raped a woman and had a daughter, so from where are we going to know? Where is the source for that prohibition? And Rashi explains the question, Bito me'anusaso minayin, b'she'er didei b'kra de'ervas bas bincha, when it's talking about his relatives, the pasuk talks about ervas bas bincha du'kim ba'onsin lo ksiva bito. It never actually says his daughter over there. It talks about granddaughter, but it never talks about daughter. And so that's why the Gemara is asking, where's the source for bito me'anusaso? And the Gemara continues, Ha'amar Abaya, doesn't Abaya say kal v'chomer, that we can make a kal v'chomer when it comes to bito me'anusaso? Because al bas bito onush, because if he's punished on the daughter of his daughter, al bito lo kol shekain, so certainly on his daughter, there should be the same punishment. But the Gemara says to that, v'chi onshin min hadin, but are you allowed to punish based on a kal v'chomer? And the Gemara answers to that, giluye milsa bialmu, this is not really a kal v'chomer, it's just kind of learned out automatically from the case of granddaughter. As Rashi explains, giluye milsa bialmu, ve'ein ze onesh min hadin, this is not a punishment based on a kal v'chomer, to habas bito mikorvas de bito hida'asya, because the granddaughter really comes from the fact, from that relationship to the daughter, and therefore daughter is automatically included. That's not considered a kal v'chomer. And Rashi continues, V'hechi dami onesh min hadin. Now, what would be an example of an onesh makal v'chomer? Could go in ervas achoscha bas avicha or bas imecha. Let's say, for example, your sister, who's the daughter of your father or the daughter of your mother, meaning your half sister. Ein li ala bas aviv shelo bas imo shelo bas aviv. Now, I only know your half sister, meaning the daughter of the father that's not the daughter of the mother, or the daughter of his mother that's not the daughter of his father. V'im basa lahavi bas aviv u bas imo. If you're going to try to include someone who's the daughter of his father and his mother, mikal v'chomer, you're going to try to make that kal v'chomer, ze onesh min hadin. Rashi says that actually would be trying to punish from a kal v'chomer, to halav mikoach kurva to ha'asi, because that's not coming because of the relationship through that person. Tezu kurva machmas atzma, v'zu kurva machmas atzma. Each relationship is independent. It's its own kurva. It's its own relative. Aval habal bas bito eina krovelo ela misham bito. But someone who has relations with the daughter of his daughter, that entire fact that they are related is through his daughter, and so that's why again that's just considered a giluye milsa bialma. It's not considered to be a kal v'chomer. And the Gemara continues, Rava Amar Rava says, Amar li Rav Yitzchak bar Avdimi. Rav Yitzchak bar Avdimi said to me, the way we learn out bito me'anusaso is as follows: Asya heina heina, Asya zima zima. We make a gzera shava heina heina. We make a gzera shava zima zima. Rashi explains, Asya heina heina li'isura. That's for the prohibition. We use heina. Nemar b'she'ero heina. It says by his relatives heina. V'nemar b'she'er ishto. And then on his wife's side, it says heina. It also says the word heina. Malahalan bita kabas bita. bita. Now, just like on his wife's side, we treat her daughter just like the daughter of her daughter. Afkan bito kebas bito. So too over here, we treat his daughter like the daughter of his daughter. Now, once we've included it, that the daughter is just like the daughter of the daughter, asyul sreifa, so then we can learn the punishment of sreifa, b'gzeira shava, then we can do that gzeira shava we had earlier, the zima kebas bito, that's the gzeira shava of zima. And the Gemara continues with another source for bito me'anusa. So Tani Avud Rabbi Avin, the father of Rabbi Avin, taught lefisha lo lamadnu levito me'anusaso, because we don't have a place to learn out his daughter again from a situation of rape. Hutzruch hakas of lomar. That's why the pasuk needs to say ubas ish kohen. It says the daughter of ish kohen, of a man that is a kohen. And Rashi explains hutzruch hakas of lomar ubas ish kohen. The havale lamemar ubas kohen. Really, that pasuk could have just said bas kohen. That's talking about a bas kohen who commits adultery, that she gets a punishment of sreifa, of burning. It didn't have to say ubas ish kohen. The cause of ish, so it writes the word ish lomar lach to tell you bas ish me'anusaso, the daughter of the ish from the person that he raped, meaning she'ena bas ishto, meaning it's his daughter and not the daughter of his wife, because he never married this woman. Ki seichel liznos, when she commits adultery, es aviha, and then we read it her father, kolomar shezinsa me'avia. What we mean is that she committed znus with her father. She was together with her father, and again this would be a situation of his daughter bito me'anusaso. So then the punishment is bisreifa. The punishment will be sreifa. That's the source for bito me'anusaso, essentially from the word ish in the pasuk. But the Gemara continues, if that's the source, ima bas kohen, when it comes to a bas kohen shezinsa, so he bisreifa ve'in ba'ala bisreifa. The halacha by a bas kohen is she gets the punishment of sreifa, of the death penalty of burning, but the person who she committed the adultery with, he gets chenek, he does not get sreifa. So af bito me'anusaso. So when it comes to bito me'anusaso, let's say a person has a relationship, he has relations with his daughter. Again, this is the daughter that was born from a situation of rape. So we'll say the same thing. He bisreifa ve'in ba'ala bisreifa. Let's say the same idea, that she's going to get sreifa, but the person who's having relations with her, in this case her father, is not going to get sreifa. And the Gemara says to that, Amar Abaya says, Amar Kra, the pasuk says, Esavia hi mechalelas. It says her father, she is profaning, and what that means is Misha mechalelas esavia. That idea that only she gets reifa is in a situation where she profanes her father, meaning the daughter of the Kohen just commits adultery with someone else. But Yotzazu, that comes to exclude this particular case where she's having relations with her father. She'avia mechalala. In that situation, it's actually her father that's profaning her, and that's why he gets the punishment of sreifa. And Rashi explains, Ima bas kohen nisua, when it comes to the daughter of a kohen who's married, shezinsa, she commits adultery. Me'achar hi b'sreifa, again she commits adultery with another person. Hi b'sreifa ve'in bo'ala b'sreifa, so she's punished with sreifa, but the man is not. So af bito me'anusaso hi b'sreifa v'lahu. Are you going to say the same thing? Let's say he has relations with his daughter me'anusaso, she's going to get sreifa, not him. Tehi tisarif ksiv v'lahu, because again it says she gets the punishment of sreifa, not him. Are you going to say that? And again, Abaya answered that we don't say that because we understand that if he profanes her, so then he gets the sreifa. And Rava says a different answer why we know that the father gets sreifa. Bishlam Hasan, because it makes sense over there. Apikte midina de bas kohen, when it comes to a situation where a bas kohen is married and she commits adultery, so the man who she has adultery with, he's taken out of the law of the daughter of the kohen, meaning he doesn't get sreifa. Vukimto adina de bas Yisrael, and he gets the same halacha that would be if he committed adultery with a bas Yisrael, which is the punishment of chenek. But over here, when we're talking about the daughter with the father, she has relations with her father by bito me'anusaso, adina deman mukemes lei. So what halacha are we going to apply over here? If we're not going to apply her halacha to him, so what halacha are we going to apply to him? Adina de penuya mukemes lei. Are you going to apply to him the same law that you would apply if he had relations with a penuya, with an unmarried girl? In such a situation, there's no punishment. Of course, that's not going to be the case, and so therefore you have to say that he gets sreifa, the father gets sreifa as well. Rashi explains, Rav Amar b'shlomo hasam gabi bas kohen b'nesua barusa. I understand by a bas kohen, she's married or she's betrothed. Mishtoi kro k'di alfinim perak daled misos. That's what the pasuk is talking about. So ki apikte leboel midina de bas kohen. So when we're saying that the person she has adultery with, when we're saying that man doesn't get the same punishment as the bas kohen, v'ukmei adina de boel eishes ish, he's just going to get the law of any other person who commits adultery. Tahalo nafka mechlal eishes re'eu. It's no different. It shouldn't be any worse than being a married woman. Aval Baal Bito, but if somebody has relations with his daughter, Mishum Kurvahi, that's because he's related. Bein Bepnuya, Bein Benasua, that of course would apply whether she's unmarried or married. V'mifkas liavia mechlal dina, ahei dina mukemeslei. But if you're going to take the father out of her din, so ahei dina mukemeslei, what halacha are you going to apply to him? Adina de pnuya mukemeslei, are you going to say that it's treated like an unmarried girl? Or mifter, and then he'd be exempt. Efshar lo markain, can we possibly say that? Hashta idalo avda midi miktala. She's not even really doing anything wrong over here, and she's getting killed because she's just the daughter involved with her father. Iu mifter, you're going to say that he's exempt. V'akai malon, but we've established hishva hakasav isha leish l'cholon shensheh b'Torah. The Torah says that a man and woman are equal when it comes to punishments, and so therefore it must be that Sreifa applies to him as well if we're learning from this pasuk of Ubas Ish Kohen. And the Gemara continues, Azhara levito me'anusaso minayin. Well, what about the warning for the situation of bito me'anusaso? Where's the source for the warning? And the Gemara says, Bishlomo li Abaye v'Rava. Now, it's good according to Abaye and Rava if you're learning from some kind of Kal V'chomer, or what you call Giluye Milsa, or what Rav Yitzchak bar Avdimi, what Rava quoted Rav Yitzchak bar Avdimi, we're learning from Gzer Shava, Heino, Zima. So mehecha de nafkalu onesh, mehasam nafkalu azara. Whatever source you're going to have for the punishment, you can essentially have the same source when it comes to the warning. But according to the father of Rabbi Avin, who's learning it from Ubas Ish Kohen, so that's a punishment that's a pasuk by punishment. Where's the source for the azhara, for the warning? And the Gemara says to that, Amar Rabbi Law, Amar Kra, Rabbi Law says it's because the pasuk says Al techalel es bitcha lahaznosa, and from that pasuk of Al techalel es bitcha, don't profane your daughter, that's the warning for this situation. And Rashi explains, Al techalas bitcha, al techalala biznus, you shouldn't profane her with the situation of znus, and so therefore, again, that's a reference to bito me'anusaso. But the Gemara continues, Maskef lo Rabbi Yaakov, achud Rav Acha bar Yaakov. Rabbi Yaakov, the brother of Rav Acha bar Yaakov, he asked the following question on this. Hi al techalas bitcha lahaznosa. This pasuk of al techalal bitcha as bitcha lahaznosa, lahachi udasa, is that for this halacha about a father with bito, with his daughter me'anusaso? Hi mi boile lechetanya, isn't that pasuk needed for what's taught in the following brisa? The brisa says, Al techalas bitcha lahaznosa. The pasuk says again, Al techalas bitcha lahaznosa. Yochel bekohen hamasias bito lelevi v'Yisrael hakasam medaber. Now, I might think that this pasuk is talking about a kohen who marries off his daughter to a lever Yisrael, because she's essentially going down now a level. She used to be able to eat truma, now she can't eat truma. Maybe that's what it means. You shouldn't profane your daughter lahaznosa. Talmud lomar lahaznosa. The pasuk specifically uses a language of lahaznosa, which is a language of znus. Bechilul shebiznus hakasam medaber. It must be some kind of profaning in a matter of znus, some kind of illicit relationship, and therefore b'moser es bito shelo l'shem mishas. What it really means is he gives over his daughter to a man, but it's not for the purpose of marriage. But the Gemara says, so if that's all we learned from Al Techalas Bitcha Lahaznosa, that this limud from the Braisa of Moser's Bito Shelo L'Shem Mishos, Lema Kra Al Tachel, the pasuk could have just said Al Tachel instead of Al Techalel. My Al Techalel, why does it say Al Techalel? Shma Min Atarti. You see both halachas. You see the warning as well for a situation of Bito Me'anusaso. And the Gemara continues via Abaye or Rava. But what about according to Abaye and Rava? Hi Al Techalas Bitcha Lahaznosa Ma'avdile. What do they do with that Al Techalo, the fact that there's two lamids? What do they learn? What second limud do they learn from that pasuk? And the Gemara says to that, Amar Rabbi Moni says, the Hamasias Bitol is Zakin. That's talking about somebody, when it says Al Techalas Bitchel Haznosa, somebody who marries off his daughter to an older man. Kedetani, as we learned in a Braisa, Al Techalas Bitchel Haznosa, what does the pasuk mean when it says Al Techalas Bitchel Haznosa? Rabbi Eliezer says, the Hamasias Bitol is Zakin. That's referring to somebody who marries off his daughter to an older man. And the idea is that since he's an older man, so he's not with her as much, and therefore she has a desire for a different relationship, and she's going to end up committing znus. She's going to end up committing adultery. That's what it means. Al techalas bitchel haznosa. Rabbi Akiva says a similar idea as a hamasha bito bogeris. This is a person who delays and he doesn't marry her off, and she's now an adult woman. And again, she's in a situation where she's going to have certain desires, and it's going to cause a situation of znus. And the Gemara continues, Amar Rav Kahana Mishum Rabbi Akiva. Rav Kahana says in the name of Rabbi Akiva, Ein loch oni bi Yisrael, there's no poor person in Yisrael. That line is going to be explained on Amud Beis. Ela Rasha Aram, there's no oni bi Yisrael, there's no poor person in Klal Yisrael, except a person who is a Rasha, who is a wicked person, who is Aram, who is wise in terms of his wickedness. V'hamasha bito bogeres, and also somebody who delays giving his daughter to be married, giving away his daughter to be married until she's an older adult. And the Gemara says, Atu hamasha bito bogeres lav rasha aram, who isn't somebody who delays giving his daughter away in marriage. That person is a rasha aram. As Rashi says, Shemasha osabishvil malacha, what's he really doing? He's delaying this. He's not marrying her off because of some work he wants her to do for him. Vizu arimas rasha, and this is a strategy of the wicked. Shegorim lahaznosa bishvil hanaso, for his own benefit, he's causing situations of znus. Shein rotza liknos shivcha l'shamsho, because he doesn't want to buy a shivcha, maid servant, to serve him, so instead he's using his daughter. So that is a rasha aram. And so therefore, how do we explain this line? How do we explain what Rav Kahana said in the name of Rabbi Akiva, Ein lochani shabi Yisrael, ela rasha aram v'hamasha bito bogeres? And the Gemara continues, Amar Abaya says, and we will continue with this discussion in the next video on Daf Ayin Vav Amud Beis.